who, fortunately, Robin, after you talked them up all day yesterday and all the way through warm-up, have hit nothing but trouble, really, in this race. They've had 9 pit stops thus far. Although they do, it has to be said, have probably the best selection of snacks in their garage of any team in the race. Usually a collection of 1-penny sweets.
Is that where there's none left? You've found it already.
Yes.
Number 2 back out again.
8 pit stops for them so far, but they are now into second position. I don't quite know how they've managed that little quirk, but
I did hear. It's terrible, isn't it? One hears things, and there's no corroboration for this, but I'll just pass it on for you gently. But there was word down there that one of their problem with wheels. You remember I had said there was a problem with wheels. That the tracking was out. Either there'd been contact. It sounds like contact with something solid. It could have been a wall or another car. But it was down at the far end club at the new sort of pits bit, and I think it may well have involved a little excursion across the false grass area that was involved in Formula 1.
Is there going to be an honesty test then in the Eclipse pit, as that they asked them which driver it was who had the adventures?
I don't know. But luckily I'm at the very far end of the pit lane now. I'm working my way towards the pit lane exit. I've decided that the guys up here deserve a bit of a look at, so I've taken the long walk, and I'm just sampling the atmosphere at the very far end of the pit lane at the moment.
Another visitor into the pits is the car that's second in class 4 at the moment. That's the Mardi Gras Motorsport, number 88 car, which is the Honda Integra. So that has taken to the pit lane as well. They continue behind the safety car, so I think the cars that possibly we have lost in that previous lap, or not lost in that previous lap, lost just prior to the safety car, was the 99 car, the 85 car and the 56 car, all of whom are showing abnormally quick lap times, and we did see that there were various cars that were off around the circuit, so certainly those 3 would not appear to be circulating behind the safety car, but likewise they also are not showing up as being in the pit lane, so we will keep track on the progress of them. As we have 18 hours, 16 minutes left in the race, 135 laps completed, 136 laps now completed by the Aquila in the lead race for Bob Berries. Now this is quite interesting once we get underway here, because the Aquila is, to all intents and purposes, the very last car in this safety car queue. Now whilst that means they've effectively been able to jump themselves a lap over the rest of the field, it also means for Bob Berridge, Paul, this is his first stint in the night, and he's going to be trying to pick his way past the better part of 50 cars.
Yes, but Bob's an experienced driver. I mean, he's raced in the Dart before, so I think if I was, I don't know if Hugh is actually running that team or whether he's employed a team manager, but if I were in charge of things, I'd be far happier with someone like Bob in the car, because it's a safe pair of hands, and at this point in the race you don't actually need John Austin type, sorry, I keep calling him John Austin, John Martin type speed. You need somebody who's solid and capable and will just bring the car. He doesn't need a car that's going 4 seconds a lap faster than anyone else. He needs someone who's able to go at the same speed as everyone else. And to be honest, I think that's it's going to be quite okay just for Bob just to stay out of trouble. Brian's got one of those miner's lights on his head. Excellent. My son has one of those when he goes out on his bike sometimes.
I'm quite disappointed to see it's not a sweatband as per the 118 advert in advance of all the efforts that have come, because we will be handing over very shortly to Brian Jones, who's going to talk us through the next couple of hours. Oh no,
they've gone green in Road Atlanta. They've been yellow in Road Atlanta for the last half hour as well. So there's been nothing happening in motor racing anywhere. But it's gone green over there now.
Now, what are the chances? Now that's one for your spreadsheet to work out, Paul. The likelihood of 2 endurance races in different parts of the world being yellow at the same time.
I'd say they're very high.
Yes.
These days, I'm afraid.
Number 75, the Mazda, has now, after an awful long time, I don't know whether you guys have got a time on when it came into the pits, but they've been working on that like mad. It's now just gone out and rejoined the track.
This is the journalist's one.
Yeah.
No, the time doesn't go for that one, I'm afraid.
Well, it's been there an awful long time, but it's certainly been there the whole of my stint. But it's just gone out to join the fray. I've also had a look in the garage of number 8, and things are looking pretty warm in there. I think there is, from what I can gather, there is a problem involving heat from the exhaust, which sets fire to things in the engine bay, and there's a lot of guys clearing muck out of the engine bay and repairing and replacing.
One of the consequences of one of the consequences of having a noise limit is that you end up with more things inside the exhaust pipe, which means that the exhaust pipe doesn't dissipate heat as well. Yeah. Which means that the exhaust pipe gets hotter, which means that the consequence is exactly what you're saying. So I'm not blaming the organisers for putting a noise limit on, but it's kind of one of those unintended consequences that happens when rules get made. Sorry, go on.
Yes, I was just saying, I was only going to add that, yes, they're dissipating the heat straight into the engine bay. But I have to say, they're working, and this is the good side of it, they're working like mad in there, and that car, I'm sure, judging by the effort that's going in, it will be out to play again, but they've got a big job on their hands.
So, sorry.
No, carry on. I was just saying, actually look at the pit lane lights. It caught the car that was due to go out. They've gone red because, of course, just as he wanted to leave the pits, the queue came round. So he was rather stymied there, and that is car 77.
Okay, yes, and that was a real...
we know.
That was a real impact in last year's race, was when people got released, because you can inadvertently lose a lap from having taken a slightly cheeky pit stop behind the safety car. So we've got back in as well the number 2 Ferrari. Now that surely can't be scheduled for them. So the McInerney Eclipse Ferrari 430 is back into the pit lane.
Yeah, that's a 2-lap stint, although it's done 2 2-lap stints, so it may just be topping itself up with fuel, but rather than doing it 1 lap at a time, it's doing it 2 laps at a time. It came in, it's currently on its 134th lap. It came in on the end of 131, and it came in again on the end of 129, so I think they may just be topping up with fuel.
Yes, that could well be the case. It's they've got a 3-lap advantage, so even if they lose on the car behind, on the car behind them, which is the Marcos Racing Lotus, that makes any sense. But because of that, they lose a lap inadvertently, or just get shuffled back to the queue. It's not really going to affect them too much. Although, having said that, a poorly timed red light, at least from their perspective, would actually take away their chance of moving up to second, because the 2 Top Cats cars are on the same lap as the McInerney Eclipse Ferrari, but those 3 cars all 4 laps adrift of the race, and it has actually, quirk of the timing screen, broken the beam in second place, so they are back into second place. Third place, it's the Top Cats Racing Marcos, and then in 4th place, number 3, Top Cats Racing Mosler.
You said number 2 was in again.
Been and gone.
It's gone out again.
Yes. Yeah, I think it just took on a 25-litre churn of fuel and went on its way. I think the theory is, the strategy theory is that even though you lose track position, you're storing up a longer stint for yourself at some point in the future. And because the tanks are more than the 75 litres that you can put on at any one time at a normal pit stop, you're kind of just storing up extra fuel, maybe at the penalty of having losing a quarter of a lap or something behind the safety car in track position, but you're giving yourself a much longer stint to come. And what's noticeable, what's very impressive, is the way that the Class 3 and Class 4 cars, Ben, have kind of crawled their way up the leaderboard, and not just up to the bottom of the leaderboard, but are in, strong positions in the top 10. And they've all done relatively few pit stops. Again, some cars with just 3 pit stops, and here we are with 6 hours of the race gone.
So yeah, I couldn't agree more, because we have, one course distance, to give a very quick summary of what has happened thus far. It has been all about the Aquila for the first hour, and then all about the Aquila for the past 3 hours, but the hours 2 and 3 of the race were a bit of a disaster for them. They had mechanical issues. They had a stop-go penalty for a yellow flag infringement for Bob Berridge, but then a storming 3-hour stint from John Martin has brought the car back into the lead of the race. We saw a very good showing in the early stages of the race from the Strata 21 Moser in the hands of Callum Lockie, and then Javier Morcillo, and it's Morcillo and Lockie who set some super laps with that car and had it in the lead of the race briefly. They then started encountering various issues to do with their fuel feed and to do with that car's performance, and that then saw the car in and out of the pit lanes. They've been trying to sort those fuel issues out. We have also seen problems for last year's winner, the Wittgamski MJC Ferrari, of course, as well, with that movable seat. The number 2 Ferrari has been performing well, and Robin Murphy has some more news from the pit lane.
Yeah, it's just been beyond the pit lane, in fact, into a sort of an unlit area at the back where they put cars that have fallen off things, and number 47 has just fetched up there and looks distinctly second hand, and there's no team or anybody around it at the moment. I think that may be one that we won't see out again, unfortunately. I think it was the one that went off at Hanger Straight.
So the leader making another quick pit stop for topping up of fuel, and that's Bob Berridge coming in for that car's now 8th pit stop, and 4 laps behind the safety car. So he did 8 laps before the safety car came out, and then he's had 4 laps behind the safety car as Bob. It's coming around again now, and the other one that came in for a top-up on that last lap was number 88, the Honda Integra, and that one has now completed 4 pit stops.
Well, we are rapidly approaching 1/4 race distance, which means it's time for me to be a traitor to the Britcar 24 hours for 2011 and actually slip off and have a shower and maybe a slight nap. So whilst I'm about to head into the night, I'm delighted to hand over to talk to us for the first time during this year's race, Brian Jones.
Thanks very much indeed, Ben. It's a delight to be here, particularly working with Paul, who I hope will gradually ease me into this race, because I must confess that although I did stay in the pit lane for quite a while, whilst I was gathering a bit of information, to be honest with you, I'm not quite up to speed. But let me tell you, the bare facts, the bold facts are that Nigel Mustill's car is, that's the Aquila, of course, the CR1, is in the lead after 138 laps as I speak now. with 18 hours and 4 minutes and 21 seconds to go in this, what is it, the popular expression in a 24-hour rate is there's a long way to go yet, but I'm not going to overuse that, I promise. But 138 laps. Did I hear you say that you were predicting something like 2,000 laps in 24 hours, Paul?
Not 2,000 laps, but
2,000 miles.
2,000 miles. Well, yes, depending how long this safety car goes on.
Of course.
But 2,000 miles is certainly within range, yes. I don't think it's ever been achieved. No, the record previous distance in a 24-hour race in this country, which was at Snetterton, was at 1,964 miles. So 2,000 would be, a nice distance to have.
Yeah.
We've had 1,926 here at Silverstone, but not on this configuration of the circuit.
No.
It's the first time they've actually used this configuration, so there is nothing really to compare with. But over 24 hours, I always think that a distance is a good thing to measure, and it then becomes a record distance rather than anything else for a 24-hour race.
All in favour of it.
The Aquila is out again, and it's got Gareth Evans on board now.
Oh, so they've changed. Right, okay.
They've changed drivers. Was that unexpected, Paul?
Well, yes, really, because Bob has only been out there for half a dozen laps, but he may be thinking, look, I'm wasting my time in the car driving behind the safety car. We might as well get somebody else in the car, then I can increase my rest time, because what we saw with when John Austin was behind the wheel, that he had a very long stint, and I'm sure Bob would like to have a very long stint as well. But this is what we sometimes find, is that you put the slower driver in the car to drive behind the safety car. So slightly surprising that they've done that, but it probably means that they know that the safety car is going to be out for a while. They
may actually live to regret that, because I've had a conversation with race control, and the impression I get is that we are not that far away from seeing an end to the safety car period. Now, I can't actually tell you when it's going to happen because I don't know, but the impression I got from my conversation was that it wouldn't be lasting too much longer. However, they do have a substantial advantage, 2 laps over the Top Cat Racing car in second place, which is car number 27, and isn't it doing well? And that pleases me so much that Top Cats are figuring large in the standings at the present moment. They're second and fourth, which is a terrific achievement, really, and 17th, incidentally, with the third Top Cat Racing entry, because in view of their troubles since Bank Holiday Monday, when literally the workshop was stripped and anything that was metal was taken, and so they had to rebuild the workshop, order God knows how many thousands of pounds worth of tools and so on, and prepare the cars and get them ready. So they've done a magnificent job to achieve that, and it is good to see them getting a reward for that effort by a strong performance. Now, of course, with 18 hours to go in 50-odd seconds time, it's obvious that this is a nice early start for them. Let's hope it is sustained, because although the Aquila is in the lead and it's currently at 3 laps over number 27, the Top Cat Racing Marcus Mantis GT3 of David Upton, Neil Huggins, Emily Fletcher and Jamie Orton, they, incidentally, the 2 Top Cats have been split by the Michael McInerney, the Eclipse Ferrari, number 2. I'm not quite sure who's at the wheel of that car at the present moment. I rather think that it's
Sean.
Sorry?
Should be Sean.
It's Sean McInerney.
No, sorry, Phil Keane, sorry.
Phil Keane was out in it a short while ago.
Yeah, no, it is Phil.
And I think they only took on fuel, didn't they?
Yeah.
Because, if I understood you correctly, Paul, the impression I got is that they've done 2 pit stops in short order to take on 2 lots of 25 litres.
That's right, and that's a trick, if you will, that a number of them have done behind this particular safety car.
Yeah.
Not only that car, but also the number 3 Top Cats. That's the number 3. Yeah, the number 3 Top Cats, as well as the Eclipse Ferrari number 2, and the Aquila have all stopped more frequently than you would have expected them to, just to get fuel into the car.
Which raises an issue in my case, because that is a partial explanation for the very high number of pits for the comparatively short duration of the race, so pit stops for the duration of the race so far, with 8, 4, 9 and 8 pit stops for the leading 4 cars.
Yes, I mean, what it does, one of the reasons that pit stop number is high is that it includes stop-go penalties, of course.
Yes.
So if you come in for a stop-go penalty, the timekeepers don't know why you've come into the pit, so they just set the timer on your pit stop, and you get another number in your number of pit stops. So it includes stop-go penalties, which Bob Berridge has had to serve one of, for example, the race leader, the number 6 Aquila, and there's a couple of others that have had to serve stop-go penalties. And so those add to extra stops made behind the safety car.
Right.
So you've got a cumulative effect of those. But you're right, there has been a high number of pit stops, but you lose relatively little time when you do it behind the safety car, of course.
Of course. And the record number of pit stops so far is in double figures now, and that's the last year winning car, Whit Gamsky's Ferrari, number 1, which is in 10th place overall, 9 laps behind the race leader, and they have had 10 pit stops. And I think that was, for some reason, due to either a loose seat or a seat-fixing problem in the early stages of the race, which caused them to rack up the number of pit stops, and really an almost inexplicable reason for why it wasn't possible to fix it in one hit, as it were. But yes, no doubt Robin can offer us an explanation on that.
Well, they've also had a stop and go for speeding in the pits, and they've also had a stop and go for yellow flag infringement. So they had a yellow flag infringement, had to do a stop and go, spread in the pits as they came in for the stop and go, and so they were penalised again. Then they had the problems with the loose seat, so it hasn't cost them so much on the loose seat, but they've had 2 extra stops as a result of infringements.
Right, so fascinating story to the start of this 24-hour race. In the first 6 hours, we're just over quarter distance. Nigel Mustall's car, number 6, has set the fastest lap. It did it on lap 103. That is quite late in the start of the stages of the race.
It was about 20 to 9 in terms of time, just after 8:30, 20 to 9.
Significant, because perhaps a drop in the temperature?
It was, certainly getting cooler, and it was pitch dark. And I'll stick my neck out and say that we're going to see a further improvement on that fastest lap as dawn breaks.
Yes, the early hours of the morning.
Because I think that will be a good time for setting quicker laps.
Right, so something for us to look forward, worthy of waking you up, taking you out of your beauty sleep. Now, the yellow lights are still flashing on the safety car, so we are still waiting for the end of this safety car period. It was caused by an incident out at Maggots in which 2 cars came together, and those 2 cars were 49, I think.
47 and 85.
47, which was the... No, I don't think it was 47. I thought it was 49. The Aston Martin. Did I tell you? Did you write it down?
Yeah, well, you said 47 and 85.
All right, 47 it must have been, which is the Ginetta GT4 G50 of Kevin Hancock, Lee Smart, Craig Wilkins and Aaron Scott. And 85 was the other car involved, which is a Class 4 car, and that is the Daniels Motorsport Honda Civic of Bob Stockley, Malcolm Edison, Gary Fletcher and Nick Bowers. So both of those cars are being recovered. Don't think they have been completely recovered yet, but they will be returning to the pits, and if it's possible for the cars to be put right, then they will be permitted to restart the race. We started, I think it was 58 cars in this race, and that is, I think, roughly similar to the early years or the earliest year, when I think we had something like 54 cars starting. So really, it's not a bad starting lineup for this Britcar 24-hour race in its 6th year. And I'm trying to look for our 85 car. Bob Stockley is there in 40th position. Now, which is interesting, because according to our screens, it's still running. Now, that's...
Brian?
Yes, Mark.
75, the journalist car, the Mazda, has been in and out. 45 is still up on the jacks. They're doing a lot of work at the rear end of that car, and it's been in the garage for donkeys. But again, they're not giving up. They are persevering, but it's been a long old time that car's been in there.
Now, hang on, Robin. May I ask you, was 45 involved in the incident at Maggots?
No, absolutely not. It's been up on those jacks for the whole time I've been down here.
Okay.
And also, as the cars run past me now, number 1 has been in again as they start on their...
And the race is back underway. The safety car is in.
Number 1 has been in again. They have had a driver change. It's Phil Driver in there now. And the final SP on this movable seat business is that they've given it a permanent fix. And essentially what this means is that for 3 drivers, they're going to have that seat exactly the same for each of the 3 of them. But when it comes to Witt's turn to get in that car, they're actually going to have to break the seat and start all over again.
Oh my God.
And that's just, they're being pragmatic. That's not in any way to be funny about it. That's not intended at all. It's just the fact he's a big guy, and that's what they're going to have to do.
That's incredibly difficult for them, isn't it?
I think the point that Keith Robinson was making when I can't remember now who was talking to him, but
I think it must have been
it was Chris who was talking to him. But the point he was making was it was the confidence thing, because he wasn't quite sure when it was going to move, and it was in a left-hander, and he didn't want to be going through a left-hander when the seat was suddenly going to be moved if he was fully committed. So he was kind of dropping away and giving himself kind of a 90% cushion. In order to give himself the confidence that even if the seat moved in the middle of the corner, he was going to be able to catch it again. Purely a confidence thing, he was describing it as.
That's really quite remarkable, isn't it? Yeah. So very difficult to handle, but Keith obviously did his level best to contain the situation. When did we last have an order on the race, Paul?
Oh, I don't remember. I think.
I'm just wondering whether I should give a rundown that is relatively close to the 6-hour mark.
Yes, no, Ben did one at 6 hours just before you came on, yeah.
Excellent, fine. All right, we won't repeat it. We'll just tell you that certainly Nigel Mustill's car number 6, the Aquila, is 3 laps ahead of the 27 Top Cat Racing car in 2nd place, and Michael McInerney's number 2 Ferrari with, I think, Sean McInerney at the wheel, is also on 3 laps behind, but 19 seconds adrift of the 27 Marcus Mantis GT3 car. And then we have behind that the second of the Top Cat cars. This time it's the Mosler. It's in 4th place. And at the wheel we have, now who? I would be making a guess on this.
Of which car?
This is number 3, the Top Cat Mosler.
Yeah, I put Andrew Beaumont in it, and nobody contradicted me, but I'm not sure that we've got it guaranteed.
Robin, I think we're going to be looking for your assistance on this. Who's in the number 3 Top Cat Racing Mosler? It's 13 seconds behind Sean McInerney, but Sean McInerney is now less than a second behind the number 27 Top Cat, the Marcos. So we may have a change imminent for 2nd place overall, and it could well be the Ferrari that moves ahead.
So you want who's in number 3?
I would like to know who's in number 3, please.
I'll toddle off there, won't be a tick.
Okay. So interesting that we've got 3 cars on 3 laps behind the race leading Aquila, but then next up is the Nick Me Racing, number 49, and I have to tell you that I watched one of their early pit stops when I was silent in the pit lane, and I was very impressed with the efficiency of the Nick Me Racing, only for that enthusiasm to be dashed when the ultimate expert, Mr. Chamberlain, came up to me and pointed out a little weakness in that pit stop. I'm not going to share it with you, I'm just going to tease you, because I don't want to acknowledge that he may have been right, and that it was something that didn't appear to be spotted. The news not going to tell anyone, so nor am I. Anyway, they are leading their class, so full marks to Nicholas Me Racing. They did a great job, and they are leading by a lap their class from the Marcus Rating Lotus. And then it's Kevin Clark now up into 3rd place. Well, it's not Kevin, actually. I'm not sure who it is in that car. I've got a feeling that it is... Now, I think it is the 3rd driver, which I will come to in a moment, when I can indeed find... oh no, it's number 68, isn't it? Because that is the age of our good friend Laughing Pete.
Yeah, that car is in your programme, the 67, Brian, which is slightly confusing. We didn't mention that when we were going through the rundown of programme changes. So it's in your programme, the 67, but it's actually car number 68.
Yes, they decided to run that as a tribute to Laughing Pete, who's in hospital in Barcelona on life support, so everybody wishes him well. And so they've changed their number to 68, which is his age, so, you know, the team feeling this race very strongly, and they want to do well for Pete. But yes, I think it's Adam Hayes who's in the car at this point, because Wayne Gibson is lined up to start 4th in the number 68 car, the BMW, the Intersport BMW. It's fairly easily to identify when it's out there on the track. And they are 3rd in class. They are 8 laps down from the leader, the overall leader. They are 2 laps down against the Nick Me Racing car number 49, which is the Aston Martin GT4 car, and that is driven by one of, I think, the Dutchman, but it could possibly be, I know that Robert, Nimkov was the 2nd driver. It was started by Carsten Leblanc from the Netherlands, and it's just possible that now it's Dan de Ziel out there, but that once again is a guess. Robin, any news?
I can give you the information if you'd like to make a note, or if anyone else wants to make a note. The safety car was out for 51 minutes.
Was it indeed?
Altogether, so it did drag a little bit while it was out there. Well, 51 minutes is a substantial amount of time, and it's brought the total amount of safety car time that we've had up to something approaching 1 hour and 20 minutes altogether. We've had 6 safety car periods.
6?
Yeah, one of them was very strange. One of them went away before it really came out, so I've counted that one, but it was kind of 1 lap and a minute of race time lost.
It was out and in again.
It was out and in again, and as I say, I think it was one of those things where it hit the timing screen, but it never actually got onto the track, so it was one of those that kind of people will discuss in years to come.
Was it a phantom safety car?
Phantom safety car, yes.
Gentlemen,
yes,
Robin. Top Cat Racing, Mosler.
Yes.
Currently driven by Julian Draper.
Julian Draper,
yep.
Right. Okay, thanks for that, Robin. We got another one for you.
Carry on.
Probably at the other end of the pit lane.
Of course.
Can't remember which one it is now. We worked out who was in 68. Who was the other one that we were questioning? No, can't remember.
Number 57 in 6th place overall, second in Class 3, the Lotus Evora, number 57, currently done, or it's just done its fastest lap of the race, not the fastest lap for the race overall, but the fastest lap for that car. Now, I think, Robin, you put McKinnon into it.
Yes.
So if it is still he, the trouble is with having all these extra popping up pit stops, they've sometimes changed the driver as well, but Alistair McKinnon was the driver that you put in it. So assuming that it is still him, a little round of applause for setting the fastest lap of that car at quarter to 11, almost bedtime.
It's past my bedtime, Paul.
I will check, actually. I'll nip down and find out.
Yeah,
57.
Yeah, but as I say, it's a good performance on that car. It's second place in Class 3 at the moment, behind the Nick Mee car, number 49, 57, which is the car that Court Oyser has entered. Hal Pruitt had it out earlier on. Very attractive car as well, the Lotus Evora.
Yes.
Don't see enough of them around, in my view.
And interesting, I mean, Core always comes out with something interesting, doesn't he? But I didn't realise that Alistair McKinnon was in that car. He, of course, was a Britcar driver and has been for quite a long time, and sponsored the championship last year in some way. But quite why he's found it necessary to line up with Court Oyser, I don't know, but ours is not a reason why, but to accept the situation and hope he does well. Now,
interesting as well, we've got the Aquila out there still in the lead of the race, and we heard from Robin that we've got Gareth Evans behind the wheel, not going anywhere nearly as quickly as Bob Berridge or John Martin did before him. Gareth Evans at the moment on that last lap was, nearly 10 seconds off the pace of some of the other competition.
Hi, chaps.
Does that? Yes.
You're not going to be surprised by this.
No.
Car 57. It's Court Oyser in there now.
Is it really?
Yes.
Well,
he must be my age, and I've noticed how my eyes can't pick things out as well at night these days. So top performance to him.
And you're 41.
Ish.
Yeah. How old are you?
I'm 55 next birthday.
Are you? So 57 is not Court Oyser's age. I reckon he's. I think it's well in advance of that, to be honest. Court has been around almost as long as I can remember, but then I can't remember very well. Let me just say that he still comes out with decent cars, but at the moment it's off the pace, isn't it? And yet now it's just done a 2:17.601. That's the fastest the car has done today.
Absolutely, and that's the second lap in a row that he's done a lap. He's gone as fast as it's gone today. So Court definitely got his eye in.
And he's done this latest lap is not quite as quick. He's done a 2:17.892, but that means it's 3 laps in succession in which he's been on the case, and 2:17.601 compares very favourably with the 2:19 of Kevin Clark's Intersport BMW, the 2:22 of Nick Mee Racing's Aston Martin, and the 2:22.645 of Pete Story's number 46. And I'll have to use my crib to find out that is the Lotus Elise GT4. So in other words, Core is putting in a series of class-leading lap times, I would have said.
Top Cat 27 not just into the pits, but into its pit garage. They're although at the moment they're just putting new boots on, so maybe they just decided to do that in comfort. So I'm going to keep an eye on that, but for some reason they took it off the apron and stuck it in the garage to do it.
Sometimes that might just be because they prefer the light.
I was just going to say, there is more light in there.
Yeah,
it also relieves them of the pressure of having only 6 mechanics working on the car, because there is a regulation that it restricts you to 6 mechanics working on the car if you're in the pit lane, and if you're in the garage, then that restriction no longer applies.
That's a bit of a very cunning ploy.
Yeah, that's a very good point that you've just raised there, Paul.
But it tends to mean they want to do something more than just change the wheels.
Yeah.
And it's the leading car in its class, 4th place overall.
Car 2 into the pits again.
They're in double figures now. Is it? It's not shown on our screen yet. You sure? Conversation off net. And
right, Brian, I'm standing by the stop-go penalty. I don't know if it's been announced yet, but car 3 is in for a penalty in a moment. By the way,
it's not in yet.
No, you know car 2.
Yes.
Ignore that.
I thought so.
What about car 4? Would you take car 4?
Yes, I'll take car 4, okay. Because car 4 has slid down and off our... in fact, of course, that's the Paul White Mosler, pardon me, with, of course, Callum Lockie, Manuel Centrano and Javier Morthillo. So it is down in, I had to look to find it, 35th place, 40 laps down.
It's leaving the pits now.
Is it? Who's behind the wheel, I wonder?
I'm going to find that out as soon as this car 3 has had its stop-go penalty.
It's in the pit lane now, Robin.
Thank you.
And I reckon that number 4 will have a quick driver behind the wheel because it's got a lot of hard work to do over the next few hours. And so it might be Callum Lockie, it might just be Manuel Centrano. But one of the two, I'm sure, ought to be out there at this stage to put in a long stint to see what they can do about a recovery of their fortunes during the night. Now, we've lost one of the cars. That must have been presumably the stop-go penalty because it's been in and out. Was that number 27?
Yes.
Number 3 is done.
Number 3 just leaving now.
Yeah, it's a stop plus 30 seconds before it goes again. Various penalties being applied depending A on the nature of the offence and B on whether it's been done before. Repeat offences get penalised by more serious crimes get penalised by more time. And as I say, that one for the number 3 Top Cats Mosler was a stop plus 30-second penalty, and we're expecting in as well very shortly number 53, which is one of the Marcos Mantis cars, being in fact it's another Top Cats car, isn't it, the number 53, the Japanese driver's Top Cats car, which is outside the top 20.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I went off air for a while because I took a call from the clerk of the course, and I can offer you some explanation now for the duration of the pit stop, the duration of the safety car period, which we had until quite recently. And the explanation was that a car slid off the track at Maggots, and a marshal went to attend to it, and unfortunately another car slid off and hit the marshal, who has been taken to Northampton General Hospital with a broken leg. It's not thought that there is anything more serious than that, but nonetheless, of course, it is always serious when a marshal is injured, and we hate that happening. But of course, due to the very nature of the sport, it does very rarely occur, and so our sympathies are with him. Our sympathies also, incidentally, are with all the other marshals on whom we rely so much. They do a fantastic job, and you do perhaps in situations like realise just how valuable they are to us. So congratulations to everybody for their loyalty to the sport, their enthusiasm for the sport, and we hope that the marshal, who is unnamed at the present moment, is going to be back with us shortly, perhaps wearing a plaster cast, but with, we hope, nothing more serious than that. That is what caused the length of the safety car period, because of course they had to be very careful and very sure, with the doctors in attendance, of the condition of the marshal, and so there's the explanation for you of the incident.
Top Cat car 53 has just served a stop-go penalty.
Hello there, busy with, and the irony of it is it's a Top Cat car.
And car 4,
yes,
Callum Lockie stayed on board.
He did. Callum Lockie is in it and on it, I think, is a fair assessment of the situation. And we can perhaps assess that by looking at his lap time. It's 2 minutes 9.602 is his best lap time. Now, I don't know what his last lap was. It was a... well, he hasn't really... it was a 5 minutes 10. That does rather destroy what I was about to say.
He hasn't
the fact
come
of the
round
matter
yet.
is that...
He hasn't come round yet.
He hasn't come round yet. All right. So will this be his first flying lap or his out lap? I think this will be his first flyer, won't it? But it will give us an indication of whether he's on it. So we're looking for car number 4 as it comes through. And we've had numerous experiences over the years of Callum Lockie having to get out there and give it the gun. It always gets my adrenaline going because I remember with great enthusiasm that session that he had in the wet when he drove the backside off the car here at Silverstone, and it was a truly inspirational drive. I'm still looking out of the window at the moment, and I hope in the hope that I will see him go through. Now, number 3 goes through, number 54. Come on, Callum, where are you? When we said that you hadn't gone through yet, we didn't realise how long it was going to take. Well, it was a 2 minutes 11.291. He obviously had gone through. Maybe the car's illumination is less than satisfactory. Number 2's gone through, but I can't see a 4. Well, I'm going to look at the screen instead and see whether that gives us a picture. But 2 minutes 11.291, it shows that he's getting onto the case and on the pace, and is going to be, we hope, unwinding some of those 40 laps deficiency to the leader. But of course, to recover from being 40 laps down is going to take best part of the rest of the race, isn't it, Paul?
Yes, I think that kind of a gap is too much. I mean, the problem for him at the moment is that the car doesn't have a specific advantage. There he goes through.
There it goes, yeah.
He doesn't have any specific advantage over anybody else. The only car that seems to have an advantage over the rest of the field is the Aquila, which means that it can have a problem, fall back, and then recover from it. Everyone else is keeping their fingers crossed that the Aquila has a problem that's a big problem that it can't recover from. Because at the moment, if it has little problems, even if there's stop and go penalties or things that are self-inflicted, that it can recover from them. And as I think it was Hugh Chamberlain said to you, the strength of the team is in its ability to recover from those problems.
Absolutely.
When you've got a car that's quicker than anybody else on the track, you can afford to take that view. When you're not the quickest on the track, A, you've got to hope for somebody else to have problems, and B, you've got to have a perfect run yourself. So Callum's just going to have it as a testing session, get up back into the top 20. They'll set their own little targets, whether it's to get back onto the top screen or to get into the top 20 or something like that. But they're not going to be able to rein in any of the Class 1 cars. Having said that, there's only 4 of the remaining Class 1 cars and only 1 of the Class 2 cars sitting in the top 20 at the moment. So,
we've got a landmark for you, Paul.
Oh, yes.
150 laps completed in what is 6.5 hours. That is almost a precise sort of statistic, the sort that you feed off.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. We'll make a note of that and do something with it, and I'll tell you what. I'll come up with something.
All right, well done. Thanks, Paul. And so now we've got very nearly a complete page at Sector 1, which interests me in theory. The only car that wasn't on that Sector 1 was number 3, the Top Cat Racing Mosler. Every other one seems to be, which means it's pretty crowded out there. But cars 3 and 53 have received a stop-go plus 30 penalty. So that's a stop-go and 30-second penalty.
They've both taken those already.
They've taken them.
Number 99
But
hasn't.
that is a stiffer penalty than a stop-go. It's a stop, 30 seconds, and then go penalty. Car 99 has received a similar one. Has it paid it?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay. So we're expecting 99 in the pits. And just to remind you that 99 is one of the Class 4 cars, I think. And it is... Yeah. Last in our program, it's the MG ZR190. And I'm not sure who's out in it at the moment, but could be Robin Walker, Doug Cole, Simon Byrne, or Ben Jakes. I would want to say Ben Jacques, but he's from GB, so I think we probably... he probably pronounces it as Jakes. Robin Walker and DC Motorsport and Mulsanne Consultants Limited entered MGZR.
So, Brian, to go back to your 150 laps in 6.5 hours, if that makes 553 laps, then if we just multiply that up, then we don't have the magic 2,000 miles. But let's just be optimistic for a moment and suppose that we don't have 50 minutes of safety car in the remainder of the race. And then certainly we do have the option of a strong possibility of beating the 2,000 miles landmark.
What's interesting about that is the probability factor. And, based on previous Britcar 24 hours, I would have thought that our chances of going through the next 17 and a half hours without lengthy safety car periods, pretty slim. Is that pessimistic or?
Yes, no. What tends to happen inevitably as a 24-hour race unfolds is you get more and more retirements. You certainly get more and more cars kind of not on the circuit, even if they're being in the garages and being worked on. So you get less and less cars on the circuit. And very often, incidents that cause safety cars are incidents involving cars coming together. Not always, but very often. So as you get less cars on the circuit, you actually get less safety cars. So towards the second half of the race, you generally do get less safety cars. That's just the way things tend to happen. It's not to guarantee it, because you never know. Accidents are, by their very nature, unpredictable. And certainly the way that a crowd of cars is coming through Woodcote at the moment, what was that? 3 abreast with 2 behind, flashing their lights, trying to get through.
Hello, that seems to be raising the probability.
Quite so. But, no, I mean, they all safely survived it, and, I mean, that's what this kind of racing is all about. It's finding your way through the traffic, it's keeping good average lap times up, keeping yourself comfortable so that you don't get tired through a long stint, and driving within yourself while still turning in the lap times.
I'm worried about what our screen is showing us at the moment with number 2, Michael McInerney. Do I understand that? It says 5 minutes 56.697. Is that a suggestion of how long it is behind the race leader?
99 just served a stop-go penalty.
Right. So I think all penalties to date that have appeared on our screen have now been served, with number 65 having a requirement to invite their team manager to race control. That's a diplomatic way of putting it. It's also probably a bit of a disguise. 65 is Brett Nile. Now, let me just consult my program again, because I learnt something about this team. 65, Craig Davis, Adam Jones, Lee Allen and Greg Rose in the Sub-Zero Wolf GR Racing Seat Super Copa. No, I didn't. That's not who I thought it was. Maybe... Oh, yes, it's these wretched 6s and 5s. I think I've just... I think it's a 55, actually. Yes, that's it. 55 is Malcolm Nile. Malcolm and Brett Nile, Clint Harvey, and Nathan Callahan. This is the Aussie motor. And they're a great bunch. They really are. Isn't that the car that James Kay is also driving? I'm pretty sure it is.
No, that's number 70.
Oh, right.
You're talking about 55.
I'm talking about 55.
Yeah, that's the one that Archie Hamilton is in. Archie Hamilton, the grandson of Duncan Hamilton.
That's right, yes.
Nathan Callahan, Clint Harvey and Brett Nile. Malcolm is not in the car. The one that James Kay is in the Vauxhall Astra. I mean the Holden Astra, because it's an Australian Vauxhall Astra.
Right, so Malcolm Nile's not in that car, did you say?
No, he's not, no.
55.
But Archie Hamilton is.
Okay. Archie being the grandson of the famous Duncan?
Of the famous Duncan, yes.
Yeah.
Which is something that he recognises but doesn't trade on. I think he kind of...
I think that's splendid.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, he's not overdoing it.
No, quite. But having spoken to him at Le Mans when he raced in a Porsche at Le Mans in a support race to the 24 Hours, and he was very emotional about the fact that this was where Grandad had probably his greatest hour.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Now, I noticed that the number one Ferrari is now only 8 laps behind the lead car, which is now the McInerney Ferrari. And that, I think, is an explanation of why the screen was acting up. They claim at the moment that is now 2 laps ahead of the Aquila.
You're absolutely right, Brian. What's happened is that the Aquila has stopped out on the circuit somewhere.
Yes.
And I missed that as well with other pit stops and other things trying to go on. But the Aquila must be out on the circuit somewhere. I don't know if Robin can get more information if he's in radio contact. But no, it's not circulating, is it?
No.
The Aquila, number 2. Number 6. Number 2 is now taken over in the lead.
The last lap for the Aquila was a 2:17.384. That wasn't seriously adrift, was it? I mean, we know its best is 2 minutes 4, but 2:17 is not seriously adrift, but it went missing. So, Robin, get your skates on, please. Now, the number 3 Top Cat is 10 minutes and 31 seconds behind the Nigel Mustel car. It also is 2 laps down against the leader, the Eclipse Ferrari. And now that becomes 3 laps as the leader goes through. So Sean McInerney is putting in a bit of an effort at the present moment. His best time is a 2:11.774, or the car's best time is that, and I don't know whether that was done by Phil Keane or by Sean McInerney. Not quite sure when it was done, but and now we've got a move up. This is helping everybody, of course. The fact that the Aquila CR1 is now in 3rd place means that everybody has been the beneficiary of picking up a couple of laps against the leader, which is now the Eclipse Ferrari. So Wittgamski's car can get its skates on. It's now only 8 laps behind the race leader, which must give them some encouragement. Now, we haven't mentioned at all recently, and that's unfair, number 83, which is the class leader. That's the CTR Developments Lotus Elise GT4 of Richard Chamberlain, Zubin Randeria, James Fillingham and Jeremy Webb. They are the class leader of the Class 4 race. They are 8 laps only behind the race leader, and they're even ahead, of course, of the Wittgamski Ferrari, the MJ. I keep calling it the Wittgamski because that's what we see on our screen. In fact, perhaps we should call it the MJC Ferrari, and because that's what it is, the 430 GT2 car. Now, second in the class to number 83 is number 89, Mark Griffiths, and he's out in the BMW M3 E46 of Brunswick Automotive. And I think, isn't that the team, correct me if I'm wrong, that was running the Ian Barrowman car? Sadly, Ian succumbed on the 19th of September and was buried this week. And so they are racing with full recognition of Ian on the car this weekend, which is a nice thought, because Ian was a long time owner and racer over the years and a great contributor to the sport. Now,
Brian and Paul.
Yes, Robin.
That's us.
Would you like a Core Oiser story?
Yes. I always like Core Oiser stories.
I'd rather have an Aquila story, but give us a Core Oiser story first.
Do you know where he was this morning?
We don't...
Amsterdam?
Spa.
Oh, right.
Racing.
Amsterdam?
No, Spa. Spa, pay attention.
Well, you did say Amsterdam.
No, it was me that said
Oh,
Amsterdam.
it was you who said
He was taking
He
part...
wasn't sitting in a window,
No,
Paul.
he was in a Dutch Supercar Challenge race. He finished 6th, came straight here, got in the car and has just done the fastest lap that car's done.
He's a great...
He's irrepressible.
That's right. He's a great character, is the word I think I was looking for. But, yeah. Now...
So can we find out about this Aquila then, Robin?
Yes,
because,
what would you like to know about it?
Well, where it is. It's stuck on the circuit. Hasn't been going around for 4 laps now.
It's now 4 laps down.
So have the team sent out a
runner?
A
right.
runner, or
I will do my best. It's stuck somewhere and you want it.
Well, we just want to know what the story is, because 4 laps, that's not beyond the possibility that it can recover from. If it's wrapped around a lamppost, then that is a problem.
That would be interesting, because that would be on the A43, wouldn't
yes.
it?
Fine, I will do my best.
You get the picture.
We do. All right, so it's now in 4th place, and it is at risk of losing out very shortly, in fact, to the race leader in class, in number 57, which is class 3, I think. Number 57, yep, and it is class 3, and it is that man, Core Oiser. His car is very shortly going to lap the erstwhile leader, not lap him, but overtake him. So he's then vulnerable to dropping quite a number of places, because we've got the Nick Me Racing Aston, we've got the Intersport BMW, and it will be exposed to all of those in the next few minutes.
Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is, Brian, that we've had a very close race for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th places pretty much throughout, and whilst the Aquila has been stretching its legs at the front of the field, it's been spoiling the race in a sense, because we've overlooked perhaps, there's a spinner just gone off at coming out of Brooklands, the left-hander. He hasn't hit anything, just recovering now and pointing the car back in the right direction.
Well, I'm going to follow it.
Follow it round, see which number it was.
To see if I can identify it as it comes round. It's exiting Luffield now. It's on its way to Woodcote, and its lights are ablaze. Did you see that number?
Something 4, wasn't it?
It looked like 54, but I'm not sure. And I would hate to issue false accusations. Did it look like a BMW M3? It looked... Did it?
No, not really.
No, that's what I thought.
It could be an 84. Yeah, it's not sure. we'll let him have his anonymity for the time being. The trouble is, you look in the headlights as they come towards you, and then you make yourself blind for when the car comes past you with a dimly lit number on the side.
It could have been 64, but I don't think it was a Porsche.
Now then. Paul.
It could have been 84,
Paul,
which was a Seat Leon.
Yes, Robin.
Did you want an Aquila?
Well, I'd like to know where it is, yes.
You've got to go for a long walk if you want one.
Yes, where is it?
Well, the SP at the moment is that it might be a Vale.
Okay.
Which is about as far away as you could possibly want.
Yes, quite.
I've also, this however was told to me with a wry smile by somebody who's connected with a small green Lotus that's not the newest car out there, that apparently took a bit of a biff from the said Aquila a few laps before. So they weren't exactly crying into their cups of tea when they told me that it was stuck out of Vale.
It did a what?
It may have had some contact with a small Lotus.
Yes, took a bite out of it, did it?
Well, it took a biff, actually, I think was the word.
All right.
Is it? So, do we know whether whether they're going to be able to get it back? I suppose is the problem for it. Because if it can be trailered back,
my guess, Paul, is that if the guys here at Silverstone, the recovery guys, can move it, they will. They seldom get defeated, and of course they have complete infield access. So it would surprise me greatly if it wasn't back in the pits before long.
So I would suggest then, Robin, that you hang around outside their garage.
That's where I'm hanging at the moment,
and then see what the damage is when it gets to you.
Will do.
What garage number's that, Robin?
Let me have a look. 7. Is it 7A? 7A.
That's really around about the divide, isn't it, between 6
yes.
and 7? So you're in about the middle of the pit lane.
Yes.
Well, that's quite convenient because you can go backwards and forwards, can't you?
I can go up and down as well if you wish.
I've got a session in the pit lane later on too, 04:30 to 08:30.
Oh, well, it'll be delightful down here then.
You reckon?
There are lots of people who look after you. I tell you what, the joint is still jumping.
Is it? You haven't been on the funfair yet?
No, but I did actually, when I was up the end of the pit lane investigating a fuel leak that they had up there, I did actually see that the funfair was going absolutely great guns. Looks smashing.
Excellent. Always good to hear. Now, Nigel Mustall's car, number 6, the Aquila, its next hazard, if you like, is Kevin Clark's Intersport BMW, because they're now on the same lap as it, so they are losing ground on a rapid basis. At what point do we get seriously worried for them, Paul? If they're not in
Sorry, Brian, sorry to interrupt, but the entire team have gone legging it down the pit lane. So I'm taking it that recovery vehicle, I think you can see in front of you now, has that not got their car? Maybe you can't see it.
No.
Okay. Well, some of their team are still legging it down to your end of the pit lane at a rate of knots. So I think it may be back with us any moment.
Right, well, there's a car that is just coming out of the pits from the stop-go area.
61.
That was number 61. I don't know that it was actually having a penalty.
No, he's garaged not far down the road. He wasn't. He was just passing.
Yeah. Kevin, once again, it's great to see you combining with GT3 Racing with Aaron and Craig, and up to this point, it's been going very well.
Yeah, we haven't had the best race that we've ever had at the 24-hour, but it then got significantly worse. So we started off having a lot of noise issues with the exhaust, and we got those resolved, and then we had a really good stint. And I was on the last lap of my stint when we had a bit of a mishap. I just came round the first part of Maggots and just hit some oil, and I was a passenger. And next thing I know, I'm careering towards another car. And a mate of mine, Malcolm Eidson, in the Honda Civic, it looks as though he laid some oil down and spun on his own oil, and I was the next one. So, I was a bit of a passenger.
And not a nice place to go off. It's a very fast part of the circuit.
Yeah, it is fast part of the circuit, but we just backed off a wee bit, and it was literally just on the first turn in on the kink. That was it. I couldn't do anything with it.
apart from collecting a lot of gravel, the car doesn't seem to be too badly damaged.
No, I kind of went in sideways, so I think we've got a rear either wishbone or track rod, but you know, the final impact wasn't a big impact, so you know, the guys are going to see how long it's going to take to get it repaired and see if we get back out there. But we'd already lost a couple of hours, so you know, we're not going to be competing for places now.
So well, there's a lot of people going wrong though in this race. It's still early.
Yeah, sure, and it's, you know, with the heat and everything else, there's a lot of attrition out there, and you know, we're seeing too many cars in the barriers and that kind of stuff. So, you know, who knows? We may get the car back out there and give it another shot.
Okay, thanks, Kevin.
Okay, cheers, Ben.
It's back with us now. It's outside the front of the garage.
Yeah, but I think they must have brought it back by the back door, as it were, and brought it in at the side of race control. It certainly didn't look to us as though it came down the pit lane.
But that's fine. The regulations allow that.
So that's fine.
It's not a problem. You just fix it and then you get racing again. 8 laps behind now. With, what have we got? 17 hours to go. 2 laps a lap every 2 hours. That's easily within its range, I would suggest.
The first thing they're doing is refueling it. That is obviously just standard practice, and now they're jacking it up, and there's a lot of interested parties looking underneath.
In the pit lane or in the garage?
In the pit lane. No, I'm having a good look with them. So
it has now been overtaken.
Right. Okay, it's now going backwards into the garage.
Is that significant, the fact that it's going in backwards? I'm not sure it is. Would it matter?
Other than that, it'll be facing the right way to come out again,
exactly,
so that's quite hopeful. But, right.
Is it worthy of a question?
No, the entire garage at the moment is up to 90, running around like mad things, ripping the bodywork off. Okay. And there we are. You can just hear the beginnings of it. I will try. It looks as though they are at it at a rate of knots, so it may be a quick job, but I will try and get the SP once they've got that bodywork off the back.
Our guru here, Mr. Trustwell, reckoned 12 minutes. You started your stopwatch, Paul?
No, I do need to, don't I?
Right, so our order now, ladies and gentlemen, at 17:07 hours still to go, is the race leader number 2, the Eclipse Ferrari. Race in second place, it's the number 3, Top Cats Racing Mosler. It's 2 laps down. By the way, the Eclipse Ferrari has done 159 laps. I would have thought any minute now to become 160. Is that number 3 coming into the pit lane? So the Top Cat Mosler, well, it's not showing it on our screens. Was that an optical illusion? Or did it come hurtling into the pits? Or did I misread the situation? Because it's not shown on our screen. I think I may have misread that. However, it's 2 laps down. 27, the Top Cats Racing Marcos is in...
It was number 4, Brian.
It was number 4. Oh, right, okay. And that, of course, is Mr. Lockie up to his old tricks. He was coming into the pit lane. My eyes are worse than yours, Paul, but then so is my age worse than yours, so I'm using that as an excuse. In 4th place, we have number 57, the Marcus Racing Lotus. It is 4 laps down on the leader. In 5th place, number 49, Nick Me Racing with the Aston Martin. That's 5 laps down against the race leader. In 6th place, I should have explained that, of course, Marcus Racing, did I tell you the Lotus was leading Class 3 rather, and in 6th place it's number 46, Pete Story. Now that means that the Intersport BMW has dropped a couple of class places, at least I think it's dropped 3. Because ahead of it is in 7th place number 66, Paul Winter, and then we have in 8th place number 68, the Intersport BMW, Winter and the Intersport BMW are both 8 laps adrift, as is Witt-Gamski now in 9th place in the MJC Ferrari. And then we have in 10th place class leader of Class 4, car number 83, the CTR Developments Lotus Elise GT4, and they are class leaders and they are in 10th place overall. 11th place is the Aquila, number 6. In 12th place, number 88, is the Mardi Gras Motors Honda Integra. I've no idea who's at the wheel of that one. We'll come back to that, I hope. In 13th place is number 89, Mark Griffiths, and he's in the BMW M3. That's the Brunswick Automotive BMW. Then in 14th place we have number 70, and that is the Ryan McLeod. It's Astra, isn't it? Which James Kay is driving for with...
It's a Holden Astra.
A Holden Astra. Oh, well, yeah, sorry about that. It is an Aussie car, so I really shouldn't have made that mistake. But anyway, they have Ash Walsh, Jake Camilleri, and Joe Gerling is also in that team. Now, I think he's, with James, those are the two exceptions to the fact that it's an Aussie car. And James was telling me that he has raced in Australia a good many times. He's done the Bathurst, and he's done a lot of racing out there, and he loves it. And says, of course, it's very big. There are, however, only 2 manufacturers. There's Ford and there's Holden. So it's a great sport.
Brian?
Out there in Australia. Yes.
Car number 4.
Mr. Lockie.
Lots of fuel, new tyres. Old ones looked absolutely ripped to pieces.
Same driver.
Callum stayed in the car.
I thought he might. 39 laps behind. He has only recovered 1 lap, but on the other hand, did he recover that 1 lap, or was that presented to him by the demise of the number 6 Aquila? I sort of asked the question. I think it answers itself, really.
He hasn't overtaken the Aquila yet, so...
No, so in other words, the Aquila presented it to him with its demise.
No, he hasn't.
Temporary demise.
Yeah, no, he's still behind the Aquila.
Yeah, of course. Yes, because...
No, I think he's merely picked up places as a result of fast lapping of slower Group 3 and Group 4 cars.
Yeah. And of course, the fact that he was into the pits for new tyres and more fuel will have cost him time, but actually it's showing him now as 38 seconds behind the race leader, because we now have 161 laps completed, and yes, he's 38 laps behind the leader. Right. Gamski, I'm happy to say, his car is looking a little bit more competitive. It's been out for some little while, and it's just gone through. It's 2.5 seconds behind number 66, which is the Paul Winter Porsche 996 GT3 Cup car, the Dorset Sports Cars entry, and so it is likely to go.
As expected, Gareth, Aquila doing extremely well in the early part of the race.
Yeah, we had a heating problem earlier on, so we couldn't get full throttle, but anyway, drive shafts are gone, so we lost all drive. So.
And understand at the most inconvenient place on the circuit as well.
Yeah, it couldn't have been further away, I don't think. It was right down by the new complex, so I just parked in the middle and waited. So it's a long way back from there, actually.
But the guys seem to be working extremely hard to get it back out on circuit. They're really flat out.
Yeah, I think we'll be out in about 15 minutes. Hope so.
And the Aquila has the speed to get those laps back as well.
We'll see. Yeah, hope so. Yeah, but yeah, they're doing well, so I hope we'll be straight back out.
Thanks very much, Gareth.
But no, I mean, I think this is precisely the sort of thing that a lot of the competition was hoping, that the Aquila could have something like this happen to it. My only concern, but in fact it's quite a positive concern, is because it's going to give us a good race as long as they can get it fixed and get it on its way again fairly soon.
Yeah. I did venture to suggest that one of the factors with the Aquila was its reliability, which was hotly disputed, because they tell me that they've had a very successful Dutch season in which they've won the championship. They've done another 24-hour race, can't remember which they've won, which they've completed with complete reliability. So they're claiming that the impression that it has reliability problems is perhaps unfair. Last year, if you remember, they were knocked out by somebody attacking the car from the side, and that cost them very dear. So we're hoping that they will be out relatively soon, before they drop still further down the order, which is going to make it more difficult for them to actually recover. But at the moment, Paul is suggesting that it's well within their compass.
Well, as I say, if it is only a broken drive shaft, then that should be something that they can repair and get back in the race. They're now down to 13 laps behind.
Paul.
Yes, Robin.
How much did you give me for a drive shaft? 12 minutes?
Yes.
How much would you give me for 2 drive shafts?
Oh, they broke both of them, did they?
I think that might be the case.
Does the Aquila eat drive shafts?
No, that doesn't make sense. You don't break 2 drive shafts.
That was the information coming from one of the drivers.
Something else must have broken to break 2 drive shafts, because you don't break 2 of them at the same time.
I can tell you that there are 7 large gentlemen standing on the rear of the car.
Yes.
Bouncing up and down and taking bits off it. Yes. They've also got a large fan blowing sort of ice-cold air straight on the engine.
Sounds like the gearbox might have broken, and as the gearbox broke, it broke the drive shaft, and once they get the drive shafts fixed, they'll discover the gearbox doesn't work.
Well, they reckon that they've had this overheating problem. I know they mentioned it earlier, but they reckon they've had no more than 80% throttle throughout because of the overheating problem.
Well, we'll see, but at the moment it's looking more and more grim for them, I have to say. They've been at it for 10 minutes since they got the car back. Actually, make that 12 minutes now that they've been at it. Altogether, they've lost something getting on just 25 minutes now since we noticed the car went missing. So I think... the longer it stays in the garage, the more and more unlikely it's looking that they're going to be able to get back to a winning position. But that's not to say they shouldn't try, because, of course, the same thing can happen to other people.
And Whit Gampsty moves up to 7th, having got past Kevin Clark, number 68. Well, I don't know. I don't think it is Kevin behind the wheel at the moment. They've had 4 pit stops. Whether they were all driver changes, I don't know. If they were, then it might well be Wayne Gibson behind the wheel, but I don't think it was. I think it's probably still Adam Hayes. And so the Gamsky Ferrari, the WJC Ferrari, is up into 7th place. It's 8 laps behind the leader, but that is beginning to look increasingly less really worrying, and they could well get up in the course of the next hour or so to the top 4, I would have thought. Maybe, to the top 5, certainly. They've got to find 3 laps, effectively, to get past Pete Story's car, the Nick Mee Racing Aston, and the Marcus Racing Lotus.
Third place car number 3 is in the pits, the Top Cat's Mosler, which we last had Julian Draper behind the wheel of, if I remember correctly.
Yes, we did.
And it's in for its 10th pit stop on lap 162. We've had another hour, 7 hours of the race now gone.
Good Lord.
Funny how these things just kind of build up on you, don't they?
Has the pace of the race changed?
Well, it has, because of the long safety car period. In terms of fast laps, not really. Once the cars are out and running, then we're still getting laps in the 2 minutes 10s, 2 minutes 12s, 2 minutes 15s. We're not getting the 2 minute 6s because it's only the Aquila that can do that kind of a lap.
Yeah.
But 12s, 14s, 15s are...
McInerney's Ferrari did a 2:15.2 on its last lap. Interestingly, Witt-Gamski's Ferrari did a 2:19. Actually, it did a 2:17 on the previous lap, I think. So it's there or thereabouts.
Number 3, Brian.
That is, it's with you.
Yes,
in second place, 3 laps behind the leader.
Driver change, Henry Fletcher getting on board.
Henry.
Particularly quick earlier on, I think.
Yeah, he was the driver who started the car.
Yep, he's in now and he's just about to leave.
We've also got Cor Oyser in the pits again, Robin, with the Lotus. Number 57, that's now in 4th place overall and leading its class.
Right, I'm keeping an eye to see whether they're doing a driver change. He's had to nip out because the fuel is going in, but he didn't take his helmet off, and it may be that he will get straight back in. I'll keep an eye on that.
Did you say number 4?
Number 4's out there. He's gone back out. Right. Henry Fletcher.
Henry.
Cor Oyser may be doing another shift. I'll wait and see.
It certainly wouldn't surprise us if Cor returned to the fray. So the Top Cat Racing Mosler in second place, back out on the circuit now, 3 laps down from the rival Ferrari, the Eclipse Ferrari. The Top Cat Racing Marcos is also on the same lap and is in 3rd place. And then we've got the leading Class 3 cars, the Marcos Racing Lotus, which is 6 laps adrift of the leader, 2 laps down against the Marcos, and it's 2 laps down against the Mosler as well, the Top Cat Mosler, but it's 6 laps adrift of the race leader now. We've got, I think, we've got the Lotus in the pits at the moment. How long's it been in there, Marcus? Robin?
Which one, Brian? The
number 57, the
Lotus.
Lotus.
23:36, 2 minutes only.
Right. No anxieties there then, really.
Not yet, as long as it moves fairly quickly. No, there it goes. So no, that's fine. That's a fairly regulation stop. Robin will no doubt fill us in a moment whether Oyser got back in the car or whether he handed it over to one of his many co-drivers. I think that car has Hal Pruitt, Briodi, McKinnon, Freebird. So choice of 5 in that car.
Right, it is not Cor Oyser in it. Hal Pruitt is in it.
Well, he'll drive it just as quickly as Cor, I'm sure.
Hal Pruitt from the US of A. Is he an experienced endurance racer, Paul?
Well, not particularly, but he was driving it very quickly. He started the car, so they've now cycled through the whole driver lineup, and he was very quick early on. So I think, as I say, prospects are good for that car to continue to lead the class. It's Actually, has it lost out now to the Nick Mee car, number 49 car? It might well have done.
It might have done because they're on the
Nick's
same
already
lap.
gone through. That's the Aston Martin with Dan Dezil behind the wheel, and Carsten Leblanc, Christian Van Landscott, and Bob Nimkoff. So good battle going on in GT3 in Class 3.
Yeah, it's a cracking race at the moment. We've got 4 cars disputing it, and they are maximum 2 laps apart. So it's wide open at the moment. Wittgamski is now up to 6th, or at least the number 1 Ferrari is up to 6th, and not far away from the possibility of it's just gone through.
Yeah, I think we've still got Phil Dryberg in that car, haven't we?
Yes, they have. Yeah.
And I don't think that Gore has been out of it for 2 hours yet, so they're basically putting Wittgamski in the car or breaking the seat.
I think I don't think we're going to see Witt in that car for quite a long time.
Not when it's dark. So Phil Dryberg probably stays in it because he can do for a while yet.
And Phil is not that far off the pace.
No, absolutely. And it's not like they're dicing for the lead like they were this time last year. So I think probably they'll leave Phil in it for a double stint. But the car itself has got some time in it yet. It was last in on lap 131, so it's got another, I don't know, it could be 3,570 laps for it, which will, it's another 10 laps or so for it. So another good 20 minutes of driving for that car, possibly. The number 1 Ferrari 430 currently running, as you say, Brian, in 6th place. What I find slightly concerning is the way that the Class 1 and 2 entries have fallen by the wayside. Not necessarily out of the race altogether, but certainly out of contention as far as the top 20 is concerned. Only 3 cars remaining in that top 20 from the first 2 classes.
In defence of number 1, they've had a barren month or so, haven't they? Because they blew an engine and they had to get a new one from Italy, and
gentlemen,
that only arrived this week, and the car didn't actually run until Thursday. So they're a bit race rusty, I think is fair to say, and therefore they may have had to go through a learning curve. Robin,
are you missing your Aquila?
Yes.
You can have it back in a minute.
How about that?
It's out of the garage, driver in the car. I'm just, as soon as they clear, I'm going to go tootling into the garage and get the full SP on what they've been doing. There are an awful lot of people working on that car, and it's still up on the jacks, but I reckon...
It seems that having 7 guys bouncing up and down on the back end of the car has done some useful...
And I'll tell you what, none of them are small. All right, it's off its jacks. It's been given
have they found out whether the gearbox is working yet?
Well, they will presumably when he drops the clutch. But I'm going to stand clear in case.
Are you prepared to
run? Yes, of course I am.
Support the Paul Trustwell theory.
Well, at the moment I'm waiting to see if it moves. Here we go. They're all having a good look at it, and the crew chief is chatting to the driver. Okay, this could be. I tell you what. Say that there are interested parties standing around, and smoothly away. The Aquila is on its way out again.
Ironically, it's going to come out on the same lap as the 3rd Top Cat car, which is the Top Cat's car has just gone ahead of it, so it's actually behind the 3rd Top Cat's car now. Which is number 53. And the 53 is the Japanese car. Now, do I imagine that there are only 3 Japanese drivers in that? Did I imagine that?
In which one?
Number 53. which is the third top cap? Marcos.
Yes, no, there are 4 Japanese drivers in that car.
Oh, they are 4.
Yes.
Okay, so they are now ahead of the Aquila, which is on the track, but has yet to come through. It's been in the pit lane for 47 minutes, 5.928 seconds.
It's not exactly true because it was off the circuit for 20 minutes of those.
All right.
But it was a good sum. It was 23 minutes actually in the pit lane, and the rest of the time it was being towed back.
So if I said it was out of contention for 47 minutes,
perfect. Yes,
that would be acceptable.
That makes your calculations, Paul, almost immaculate. You reckon 12 minutes for a drive shaft, and they were 23 minutes. They actually did, I've checked, do 2 drive shafts. I asked if the gearbox was okay, and he looked at me with a wry grin and said, "Well, it's gone out, hasn't it?" I said, "Will it come back?" He said, "I don't know."
Absolutely. Well, I just think it's. I don't know. I don't know enough about mechanics, I must admit, but it strikes me as a strange thing to happen. But anyway, the car is perfectly placed now because it's altogether lost about 40 minutes with that being towed back from the Vale or Stowe Corner, wherever it was it came to rest, being repaired. Wonderful that it was able to be repaired, and now we've got a chase on our hands. Makes about 20 laps that it lost, so it is now 19 laps behind because it was several laps ahead. So they've got 19 laps to make up. Now I think making a lap an hour is a tall order when you've got Ferrari ahead of you, but it'll give it a good go, I'm sure, and certainly a position on the podium's not out of the question for it, provided nothing else goes wrong. With a
big proviso.
Big proviso.
Ahead of it is number 75, the Mazda Motors car, and I just want to spare a thought for them at the present moment because that's Andrew Frankel, Ben Anderson, Matthew Pryor, and Jethro Bovingdon. That's the Journo's car, the Mazda MX-5, and there they are, just done their fastest lap of the race, 2 minutes 38.073, and they are in 18th place overall, just ahead of the Aquila. For how long, I wouldn't like to say.
Brian.
Yeah.
Car number 6.
Yes.
You're fond of that one, aren't you?
I am.
Stop-go penalty.
I don't believe it. Speeding in the pit lane.
I don't know what for.
You don't know what for.
But,
car number 6, stop-go. It isn't just a stop-go penalty. It's a stop plus 90 seconds, then go penalty.
90.
Now that, a minute and a half, I'm afraid, is going to affect them, well, maybe not very seriously, but it's going to irritate them like mad.
I'm standing back because it looks like Bob Berridge in there.
I was going to say, who was it who was in the car? Do we know?
I think it might be Bob because his helmet...
Bob's already blotted his copybook once and caused a drive-through penalty for that car, or a stop-and-go penalty, I should say, for that car. So...
I'm fairly certain that's his helmet design.
Is Hugh Chamberlain around? I'm sure he'll have an opinion.
There's the understatement of the year. Bob Berridge will have an opinion.
Well, Hugh Chamberlain will have an opinion. But it's worth having. Hugh's usually good for a choice comment. It's that time of night when nobody under 18 will be listening.
I'm listening.
I repeat.
A mental age. All right. Mike Brown has just appeared on our screens in number 59, and Bob Berridge in number 6 is getting seriously close to dropping off our page 1 of the screen. We have the top 20 on our screens, the top 20 cars, and he's in 19th position.
He's leaving the pits now.
Is he? All right, well... Mike Brown has only recently come onto the screen, so he's safe for the moment. But he needs to stay out there for a decent amount of time to claw back a little of what he can. And he ought to be able to do I don't know, a couple of these cars relatively quickly. Relatively. Rob Carvell is the first competitor, number 82, who would benefit from somebody dropping off screen 1. And number 82 is the Carvell family, Ian and Rob, brothers. Then they've got Henry Wright, Dave Carvell, and Kevin Glover in the car with them. Carvell Motorsport and Retro GB, VW Golf Mark III. And
there's a car just coming down out of Luffield towards the
in the pit lane.
Pit lane, very, very slowly, with a marshal up ahead of him somewhere, as far as I can see.
Couldn't be a car with a gearbox problem, could it?
No.
Now let's not wish it on them. There are one or two people in the pit lane walking there. Oh, and has somebody let a fire extinguisher off?
It's either a fire extinguisher or a lot of smoke coming, and there's a bit of both, I suspect, because now I can't see the car at all because it's disappeared in a cloud of smoke. I was going to suggest
we've got somebody else coming down the pit lane, having to get past it.
Yes, I was going to suggest it was the Tishner Motorsport BMW, because it looked a bit that colour, because it's a very bright red, but really not sure.
How do you know it's bright red?
Because I've got binoculars, Brian.
You need binoculars.
Trust me.
I think you've probably got night vision on those. Have you?
No.
No?
Anyway, the cloud of smoke has stopped smoking, and it's still
drifting
stuck
across the surface.
Yeah, the smoke is drifting. The car is stuck completely. So an awkward position for the driver, as you say, with just at the entrance to the pit lane. But I'm not sure. Did the BMW get going again? The number 7 Tishner Motorsport car.
Number 7.
It's well down on the timing lists and beyond where my attention goes, I have to admit.
Number 7's on page 2. That's the Marco Schelp BMW.
Yes,
it's in 39th place and seems to be running, or should I say it was?
Yeah, no, I think it may be that one, but as I say, no guarantees.
Car 4 in the pits, car 1 in the pits.
At what point does it show us entering the pit lane?
Just about underneath the podium.
So, in other words, not at that distance.
No. From there, they're going to either be pushed by a marshal on the grounds that it is unsafe where it is, and the easiest place to get it to a place of safety is in the pit lane.
Well, we've seen 2 or 3 cars come into the pits and have to go round it. So, I'm pretty sure they'd like to see it shifted.
Quite right.
But I hope we're not going to have to see any intervention. I would have thought from that position they ought to be able to get perhaps a line on it, and it's moving slowly, very slowly.
Meanwhile, a question for Robin, because you just mentioned number 1 coming into the pits. Did Phil Dryber stay behind the wheel of the number 1?
Robin?
And we will wait for an answer.
Sorry, just waiting for the thing to fire up. The answer is no. They are doing a driver change. I'm just I'm keeping an eye on both, because we've got car 4 and car 1. They're just probably if 10 yards apart, or less than that, actually.
Well, if it's a driver change in the number 1, there are issues around what sort of seat they're going to use for him.
Yes, indeed. And Callum is definitely not going out in number 4. I'll find out who that was in a moment. And number 1 is now leaving as well, so they're sort of going out. They'll only be a few seconds apart, yes. But both are now out.
I would put money on it being either Keith Robinson or John Gore.
Right. So I don't think it's John Gore.
I don't think it can be John Gore, because he's not within his allowed driving time.
Right.
No, and I think it was somebody slightly taller.
Yeah.
So I'm going to check. I'll find out. I'll come back to you.
In that case, I'd put money on it being Keith Robinson.
Well, yes, quite. The problem is, as I say, that he breaks the seat. that car that's being pushed in, I haven't been able to pick out the number of, I'm afraid, because it certainly wasn't the BMW though, but it is being pushed by the marshals into the pits, and the team just have to be careful that they don't start pushing before the official pit lane line, although, as we've said already, the organisers seem to be willing to let people carry on racing, if that's possible. And the leader is in the pits.
The leader is in the pits, that's number 2.
Should be Phil Keane, we think.
I think marshals have just handed over to teams, and you're quite right about it being either orange or red, but I can't identify it any closer than that. Robin,
just from that number 2, the leader in the pits, Phil Keane, 40 laps on that stint. We were making a big fuss out of John Martin earlier on with his long stint. Well, 40 laps is a good stint as well. What was John's? John's was 42 laps.
Now that raises an interesting question, because if it's Phil Keane getting out of the car, who's going to get into it? Because Michael McInerney doesn't much like the dark.
It'll be Sean if it's a driver change.
Well, Sean, didn't he get out of the car when Phil got in?
Yes, he did, and that was at...
So can he, is my question.
Yes, I think he can.
He can.
I think he's within range there, because Phil's actually been in the car, I think, since about 10 o'clock.
Right.
Answer to question 1, or rather question about car number 1, is Phil Dryborough.
So he's gone out again.
He has.
So he's staying in the... Yeah, we said that he probably would.
Yeah, Witt is in civvies.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right. He has no intention of going out yet.
Yeah, Dryborough gets out of the car just to have it refueled and then gets back into it.
Yeah, the seat, I think what I said earlier is the case. The seat is the same for the other 3 drivers. It's fixed and they're going to put up with that. But when Witt gets back in, they're going to have to redo it.
Okay, and then for the number 2 Ferrari, then having answered one Ferrari question, Phil Keane probably, we think, handing over to Sean McInerney.
Right, I'm going to break my way. I'm going to get down that end. Now, the car that was being pushed in, where did that end up?
Question. Right. It's either red or orange, we thought.
Okay, well, I'll try and find that. I'm going down to visit Ferrari pit first.
It's worth just mentioning that the Lotus is now up to 4th. So that's number 57. I think it's been there for some little while, hasn't it?
Yes, it's having a good run.
Yeah, a very good run. And the Nick Me Racing Aston Martin, after a hesitant start, I think has also run fairly consistently recently. Number 49 is in 5th place. And then in 6th place, number 68, Kevin Clark's Intersport BMW. By the way, that's a lap down on the 2 previous guys in Class 3. And in 4th place in the class is Paul Winter, and he's a lap down relative to the Intersport BMW. Well, no, he's just gone on to the same lap. That then leaves us with number 1 in 8th place. That's the MJC Ferrari, which we now know is still Phil Dryborough at the wheel. And in 9th place we have our number 83, the Class 4 leader, and that is the CTR Developments car of number 83 is, well, we don't know, do we? It's the Lotus Elise. I'm not sure we've been monitoring the driver order of that. The driver order got rather involved because of the number of pit stops, I suggest. So can we rely upon the original driver order published magnificently by Steve Wood?
Brian.
So it was supposed to be Randeria, Webb, Fillingham and Chamberlain. Now, I don't know who is currently in that car, but it's leading its class. Robin.
It is Phil Keane. Phil Keane is staying in there, and they're looking to put Sean back in round about 1:45.
Right.
Okay.
That's not that far away, is it? It's midnight, so he's got another... Sounds as though Phil has got a 45-minute session.
Which is just about right, given the fuel. As I say, he's done 40 laps on the last tank full. Remember, that car was one of several who came in a couple of times during the last safety car period to top it up. So they've probably got more than 75 litres on board when they sent it on its way. They'll have put 75 litres on it now, and so it will quite happily go for another 45 minutes. And then, as you are suggesting, that seems perfectly reasonable. Sean McInerney will take it over 1:45. He'll have it until 4 o'clock.
And he will hope that there's no safety car period when he takes it over.
Yes, quite. And then Phil Keane will have another go, ready for Mike to bring it in. What time does it get light? It gets light about 6:30, 7 o'clock, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it'll take a while, but so Phil Keane will get another night stint even after Sean has had his go, starting at 1:45.
Right.
Right, gentlemen. Roll centre Ginetta.
Yes.
Is that 94 or 49?
Roll centre Ginetta, I think
90.
it's 49, isn't it?
Something like that. Anyway, the roll centre Ginetta was the
No,
car.
49 is the Nick Me Racing Aston.
Number 30.
There's another 64. Which is 64? He's got a
64
blown.
is the Dave Burnett Porsche 996
Well, that's
Cup.
that's got a blown near side rear tyre, and he's just come into the pits with. It's in a hell of a state, so I'm going to have a look at that. But the car that caught fire in the pit lane was the roll centre Ginetta, whatever its number is.
Okay,
And
well,
it was a rear brake fire. I'm making my way towards it, but first of all, I'm looking at this Porsche, which has got real problems at the rear end.
I'm hoping that the fire that it had was relatively lightweight. No answer came to the stern reply.
Well, you saw it. It was your end of the pit lane. Did it look relatively light?
I don't know, couldn't see. It wasn't light enough. Sorry about that. The Roll Centre Racing Ginetta is number 30. We reckon they've got the heavy brigade out there with the possibility of Lawrence Tomlinson and Martin Short both taking the wheel, plus Colin Turkington, Mike Simpson and Matt Nicol-Jones. That sounds like a very determined effort on the part of Ginetta UK and Roll Centre Racing to do well in this race.
Right, huge work going on here. 64 is now being jacked up. They've fueled it, and they're going to... that tyre is shredded. That is one blown booty. And has it jammed on? Oh dear. They're going to have to give it... well, one large gentleman can't get it off, so they're now attacking it with all sorts of handy available tools.
May I offer a further comment on number 30, the Roll Centre Racing Ginetta, and that is that it is currently in 49th place, 96 laps behind the leader. It's in the pits, looks as though it has been for some time, and I don't know that you can blame that on a fire, can you? It sounds as though it's had more than enough problems over a longish period. And incidentally, a rather sad element of this is that number 8, the MacG Racing Ultima, is also down there. It's 50th, 101 laps behind the race leader. So effectively their race is run in terms of a respectable result. At what point do we reckon that they are virtual retirements, Paul?
Yes, don't know.
If you're 100 laps behind,
yes.
Is that a... a benchmark by which we might regard you as a retiree?
Well, yeah, I mean, the great thing about a race like this is you never retire, do you? You get to the point where finishing position is no longer important. What is important is getting to the finish itself. Having been involved with some of these teams whilst they've been doing this kind of thing, you set yourself a target, and if for whatever reason that target becomes unattainable, then you set yourself another target which is attainable, and gradually you adjust that target until, as I say, the last target is just getting the car to the finish before the end of the race, because you'll just get so fed up with it. But there will become a point where you get walking wounded, and within this race, as far as I know, there's no regulation that says that you have to be within a certain distance by half distance or by three-quarter distance, otherwise you get flagged off. So you do get a large number of cars returning when you think they were dead because they've replaced the engine or something like that.
Right, guys.
It wasn't 94 when you were talking about Ginettas, was it? Because I've got a feeling that the number 94 Ginetta is also run by Roll Centre.
It could have been, the guys couldn't remember whether it's 49 or 94, but I would suggest if there is a 94 Roll
There is
Centre
a 94,
Ginetta,
which is a Ginetta
one.
It is a Ginetta car,
Yeah.
and it's not actually in the entry as a Roll Centre car, but it is run by Martin Short, which amounts to the same thing.
I'm going to pedal up there and find it.
Yeah, I suggest it was 94 rather than the number 30, which is
64 was the Scuderia Vittoria Porsche,
Yes.
which had the blown near side rear tyre,
yeah.
and Carlos Antimon.
Arimon.
Beg your pardon. I'm sorry, I've found a light now.
Yes.
Carlos Arimon is the driver that's currently on board there.
Excellent. And number 66 is in the pits at the moment. This is the 5th place car in Class 4, also 10th overall, so it's been quite well. It's been in the pits for a little longer than it ought to have been, 5-6 minutes so far.
He's just left the pits, in fact.
66, he's gone already, has it?
Yeah.
Excellent, okay. I was just getting a little bit concerned. You know, you get to that point where
Yes.
it should be out again.
Yes, no, he's on his way.
Okay, you can carry on
I
working.
don't think he's got... he has. The light's just gone out, so he's back on the track.
That's fine. No, if Robin can keep them on the track in that order, then he can keep down there. Doing a great job down there, Robin. It's easy for us up here just to say, oh, find out this, find out that. And there's all sorts of things going on down there that attract your attention and distract your attention.
I'm just going to give a quick run-through of those I think are probably in the graveyard. And that's number 30, the Roll Centre Racing Ginetta. I think number 8, the Mac G Racing Ultima. I think number 47, which was or is the Kevin Hancock car. Number 47, that's the Gemco Racing Ginetta G50. Number 28, sadly, Fred Tong and his GTF Sagara. I've got a feeling that was involved in some sort of collision out on the track, which may have adversely affected it. Number 31, the RJN Motorsport, which had such a promising start, didn't it? I saw it at the top of the leaderboard. No, I'm not sure I did, to be fair.
No, it never actually led the race.
No.
But, it certainly had a very good start. Alex Buncombe was doing great things with it, and then Jan Mardenborough threw it off the track, and we haven't seen it since. Although it was repaired, and I think it did come out, but it didn't kind of do anything.
That's the Nissan. No, it's the... it is a Nissan, isn't it?
The 370Z number
The
31.
370Z, that's right, yeah. And then we've got the Optimum Racing entry, number 51, and that was leading its class for quite some time, I thought, which was the Optimum Motorsport Ginetta G50, but they succumbed and are now 137 laps adrift. The number 45 Mazda Motorsport entry for, that's really the works Mazda of Mark Ticehurst, Owen Mildenhall and my old pal Mike Wiles, who's not really very well this weekend. He's got a severe dose of the flu, and I suspect that he may well have left the circuit and gone home to bed. But anyway, it takes a lot to shift Mike, but I think now that the car has been out of it for 140 laps, he will have taken to his bed. And number 58, this was the very sad case of the one that had a blown engine, and they couldn't do a deal to get the engine together. We thought it was going to take them 2 hours to replace the engine. They'd had the agreement of the stewards to let them race if they got it done. Well, there's no sign of that, so I fear they are definitely out of it. And then the other one is number 60, the John Thorne car, which, well, I don't know what caused its demise, but that BMW E92 M3 GT3 car obviously had an early demise, because he's 172 laps behind the leader, which means his problem started 7 laps into the race. So those are the people that I regard as the major casualties that are effectively out of it. Now, if I'm right in my assumption, and they're all about 100 laps down, it means that we've actually got something of the order of 11 cars out at this stage of 58.